Should I use hollow blocks or solid blocks? Hollow blocks and solid block, which one is better? I get this question a lot from builders. So in today's episode, I'm going to share with you the advantages and disadvantages of using hollow blocks versus solid blocks. Hopefully at the end of this video, you'll be able to make informed decision. Now, the first advantage of using hollow blocks is the weight. Hollow blocks are generally lightweight in nature, so they are more suitable for top floors. Let's say you're building story building or duplex, it is advisable you use hollow blocks for the top floor because of the weight. They are very lightweight in nature, so they are not giving the ground floor a lot of weight to carry. You get? So hollow blocks are more suitable for like top floors because they are lightweight in nature. So their weight is of a very good advantage, right? Because of how lightweight they are mostly used for the top floors and they are suitable for top floors. Okay, that is the first advantage of using hollow blocks. Now, the second advantage of using hollow blocks is the material. Hollow blocks requires less material to produce. You don't need a lot of materials to produce hollow blocks. We have holes in between them already, so those holes are spaces. You don't need a lot of materials to fill in those holes. So because of that, it saves you a lot of cost. Using hollow blocks is one way to save costs when building. Okay, it saves you a lot of cost because you don't need a lot of materials to fill in those holes. Okay, that is the second advantage of using hollow blocks. Now, the third advantage of using hollow blocks is the temperature. Hollow blocks regulate the temperature of the house, because those holes are filled with air. Those holes inside the hollow blocks, they are usually filled with air. So once heat from outside hits the block, right, they hit the wall, they'll pass through the holes first before coming into the house, right? So now the air in between the holes, like the air inside the holes of those hollow blocks, will calm the heat down before passing it to the house, right? That is why you see some places, your house is cold. Though most people, because they use hollow blocks, their houses are usually more cold than people that use solid blocks, right? So using hollow blocks helps you regulate the temperature. If the heat is too much outside, once you enter your house, it's a little bit more cool. Why? Because of the hollow blocks. Once the heat from outside hits the wall of the blocks of the hollow blocks, it will pass through that hole, and that hole is usually filled with air. So now once the heat pass through that hole, the air inside that hole will calm it down a little bit before passing it to your house. So that is how hollow blocks regulate the temperature of the house. It makes it cool. It makes the house cool even if outside is hot. Okay. Now, the fourth advantage of using hollow blocks is that it is soundproof. Yes, hollow blocks are soundproof. Remember, there is air in between the holes of this hollow block. So once noise from outside or any sound from outside hits the wall of the building, it passes through the hole, and then the air inside this hole will reduce the volume or noise coming from outside before passing it through to the house. So even if there are a lot of noise outside, inside your house, you will not feel that much noise coming from outside because you use hollow blocks. Because once the sound hits the wall, it will pass through the holes of the hollow block before coming into your house. The air in between that hole has already reduced the sound from outside, making it less noisy. It will reduce the volume of the sound or noise coming from outside. That is the fourth advantage of using hollow blocks. It is soundproof. Okay. Now, the fifth advantage of using hollow blocks is the cracking. Once there is a crack on one part of the wall, it doesn't affect the other part of the wall. Now, let's say your house now, there is a crack outside. There's a crack outside. It does not affect, like you cannot see the crack inside. It will not pass through directly to the house because there is a space in between them. It's not like the solid block that once you hit it is direct, right? It's not direct in this case. The hollow blocks, once there is a crack outside, let's say outside of your wall, outside of your building, there is a crack on your wall outside of your building, it will not penetrate to the inside of your house. It will not penetrate to the inside of your house. Why? Because there is a hole in between. There is a space between this side and this side. There's a hole there. So once there is a crack here, it doesn't pass to this side. It doesn't come out to this side. You will not see it except you go outside to see that, oh, I have a crack on my wall, right? If you check inside, the crack is not showing on the other side. Why? Because there is a hole in between. So the cracking of the wall does not affect both sides. Right? Now, the sixth advantage of using hollow blocks is that it is cheaper to transport. Because of the weight, Remember, it is lightweight, right? Because of how lightweight it is easier to transport. Once you buy these hollow blocks from the factory or wherever you bought it from, and you are transporting it to your site, the cost of transportation is less as opposed to you buying solid blocks. Because the drivers will tell you, it's lightweight, so it's not really giving them a lot of stress transporting it. So it costs less to transport hollow blocks from one location to the other. Okay. Now the seventh advantage of using hollow blocks is that it is cheaper. It is cheaper to produce or buy hollow blocks. Let's say 6 inches solid block costs 600 naira. 6 inches hollow block will cost 550 naira. It is cheaper because it is lightweight, it costs less to produce, and it costs less to transport. And if you add all of this, it is cheaper to buy or produce hollow blocks. Okay, so those are the advantages of using hollow blocks. Now let's go to the disadvantages of hollow blocks. Now the first advantage of using hollow blocks is that it is easily destroyed during the cost of production. When they are producing it now, it is lightweight, and then let's say, it's dried a little bit. Once you carry it, any little touch, it will break, right? It will break. So it is easily destroyed during the cost of production or during the cost of building. When people are building, you see the way they carry the blocks now, sharp, 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 sharp. It is easily destroyed during the cost of building or even cost of production. So that is one disadvantage of using hollow blocks. It is easily destroyed. Okay. The second disadvantage of using hollow blocks is that it is difficult to repair when it is damaged. Right? Let's say solid blocks break into two now during the course of building. You can easily patch it together. These builders can easily patch it together and you can use the block. But when it comes to hollow blocks, it is not easy to just patch together. So you just have to let that one go and make another one. So once it is destroyed, it is difficult to repair. Okay, that is the second disadvantage of using hollow blocks. Now the third disadvantage of using hollow blocks is that because of the weights, right, it is not advisable to use it for the load-bearing sections or areas of your building. It is not advisable for you to use hollow blocks for the foundation. Yeah, most people use hollow blocks for their foundation and then they start filling in those spaces, the holes in between the hollow blocks. But why do that? For me, I'll just use solid blocks for the foundation, or sometimes solid blocks for the ground floor, the foundation, the ground floor. Then you can use hollow blocks for the top floor. So because of how lightweight hollow blocks are, it is not advisable for you to use them for the load-bearing areas or sections of your building. It is not advisable for you to use them for the ground floor most times, like especially the foundation of your building. Hollow blocks are not advisable. Okay, so those are the advantages and disadvantages of using hollow blocks. Now the first advantage of using hollow blocks is the weight. It is lightweight. Because of how lightweight it is, you can use it for the top floor of your building. Okay. The second advantage of using hollow blocks is the material. Hollow blocks requires less material to produce. Okay. The third advantage of using hollow blocks is the temperature. Hollow blocks regulate the temperature of your house because of the holes in between them. Because of the air in those holes, it reduces the amount of heat that comes into your building. Okay. Then the fourth advantage of using hollow blocks is that they are soundproof. Hollow blocks are soundproof because of the air in between the holes. Once sound or noise are coming from outside, once they hit the wall of the building, it will pass through the hole, and then the air inside the hole will reduce the sound before transferring it to the main building. Okay. Then the fifth advantage of using hollow blocks is the cracking. Once there is a crack on one part of the wall, it doesn't affect the other part of the wall because of the hole in between. There's a separation between the two. Okay. And the sixth advantage of using hollow blocks is that it is cheaper to transport. Okay, it costs less to transport hollow blocks from one location to the other. Then the seventh advantage of using hollow blocks is that it is less expensive to produce or to buy. Okay. Now the disadvantages of using hollow blocks is that because of how lightweight they are, they can be easily destroyed. Okay, they can be easily destroyed during the cost of building or even the cost of production. Okay. Then the second disadvantage of using hollow blocks is that when they are destroyed, they are very difficult to repair. Okay, sometimes they are irreparable. You just have to use another block. Okay. The third disadvantage of using hollow blocks is that because of how lightweight they are, it is not advisable for you to use hollow blocks at the foundation of your building or the load bearing sections of your building. It is not advisable for you to use hollow blocks for the the load bearing sections of your building. Okay. Now let's move over to the advantages of using solid blocks. The first advantage of using solid block is the weight. Okay, solid blocks are able to bear a lot of weights, because they themselves, they have they have power, they have weight, they can bear a lot of weight. So they are mostly used for the load bearing section of your building. Okay, and they are very great for your foundation. Yeah, for the foundation of your building, solid blocks are highly advisable for the foundation of your building, foundation to DPC, or sometimes, if not most times, for the ground floor of your building if you are building story building. Okay, because of the weight, right? Now, the second advantage of using solid blocks is that it can withstand harsh weather conditions. Yes, when the storm is hitting, biz, solid blocks can withstand, the force from this storm, or even heavy rainfall, all those kind of harsh weather, even heavy wind, right? Once you use solid blocks for your building, they can withstand those harsh weather conditions, right? Because of their weight. So they can withstand harsh weather conditions. That is the second advantage of using solid blocks. Now, the third advantage of using solid blocks is that they are not easily destroyed. Yes, solid blocks are not easily destroyed because of their weight. So during the course of building, they are not easily destroyed, as opposed to solid blocks that are very lightweight. Okay, now the fourth advantage of using solid blocks is that they can be easily repaired when they are destroyed. During the course of building, once any damage happens to solid blocks, they can be easily fixed and you can continue using the block, as opposed to hollow blocks. Okay, so those are the advantages of using solid blocks. Number one, they are able to bear a lot of weight because of their own weight. Okay. Number two, they are able to withstand harsh weather conditions because of their weight. They are ready for the war. Okay. Then the third one is that they are not easily destroyed. Okay. Solid blocks are not easily destroyed because of their weight, even during the course of building. Okay. Then the fifth one is that when they are destroyed, they can be easily repaired or fixed. Okay, now let's move over to the disadvantages of using solid blocks. The first disadvantages of using solid blocks is the weight. Okay, because of their weight, they are not advisable for story building, especially the really top floors of this building, right? Once you are building now, okay, you can use solid blocks for the foundation of the building, or sometimes the ground floor of the building. But when it comes to the top floor, or the top, let's say you are building two-story building, the top floor, that is the second floor of the building, it is not advisable for you to use solid blocks because of their weight, right? Because of their weight. So because of the weight of these solid blocks, they are not advisable for top floors of building. Okay, the second disadvantage of using solid blocks is the materials. Solid blocks consume a lot of materials during the course of production, right? Now there's no hole in between them, or there's no space. You got to fill everywhere up and give them the weight that they they need. So because of the weight and everything, they require a lot more materials to produce, as opposed to using hollow blocks. Okay, the third disadvantage of using solid blocks is that they don't regulate the temperature. Solid block does not regulate the temperature of anything at all. Once heat is coming from outside, it hits the wall directly, it comes out the other way instantly. There is no space in between the blocks for any regulation to happen. It just hits and goes straight to the building directly. That's why you see that most houses are a little bit more hot than some houses, because of these blocks, right? So once you use solid blocks, note that there's no heat regulation, there's no temperature regulation. As soon they hit the wall of the house from outside, now so they enter the house directly. Nothing they stop them when you use solid blocks. Okay, and the fourth disadvantage of using solid blocks is that it retains a lot of water, thereby causing dampness. And even all those muco where you go they see for building, all those green things will be coming out. And sometimes you see the building, it will be like, it will be like say you don't sleep, you don't weak. Why? Because the blocks itself retains a lot of water. Because they retain a lot of water, it makes them very damp, right? So that's one disadvantage of using solid blocks. Then the fifth disadvantage of using solid blocks is that they are not soundproof. Like, just the way they don't regulate the temperature, they are not soundproof. Once sound is coming from outside, it hits your house directly. That's why sometimes you see that if you have a neighbor that they are shouting in their house, you can easily hear them. Even if they are not really shouting like that, you can hear them easily. But if you are using hollow blocks, you can't really hear them very well. They might be shouting in their house, but it not look like shouting in your own house. But when you use solid block, if they are shouting in their house, you can really feel it in your, like, it is not soundproof, basically. Okay, solid blocks are not soundproof. Once any noise, anybody is playing loud music or anything is happening outside, you are hearing it almost this exactly the way it's happening outside. You are hearing it like that in your house because the solid blocks are not soundproof. Okay, there's no hole to reduce the volume of the noise before it comes into your house. Nothing is reducing the volume. It dey enter your house directly. Okay. Then the sixth disadvantage of using solid blocks is that once one part of the wall is broken, it will affect the other parts. Remember, there is no space in between this block. So once anything hits this side, it dey affect this other side immediately. Okay. So once there is a crack on this part of the wall, it will affect the other part of the wall. You can even see the hole in between. That's why sometimes when you see a crack on the wall, you can peep through the wall and see the other side of the if it's outside, you can see inside of the house. If it's outside of the house, you can see the outside of the building, because the thing has already affected directly. There's nothing stopping, there's nothing separating it. Okay. The seventh disadvantage of using solid blocks is that it is more expensive to transport. Yes, transportation is more expensive when it comes to solid blocks because of their weight. Drivers dey tell you say, this thing get weight o, so it will cost more for transporting when you're transporting it from one location to the other. Okay. Then the eighth disadvantage of using solid block is that they are more expensive to produce or to buy. Yes, when you're buying solid blocks, they are more expensive. When you are producing them, they are more expensive. When you're producing them, they cost more materials to produce. When you're buying them, generally they will cost more because transportation, everything. So yeah, solid blocks are more expensive than hollow blocks. Okay, so those are the advantages and disadvantages of using hollow blocks versus solid blocks. I hope this video helps you out. I hope you're able to make informed decision. Let me know in the comment section, which one do you prefer? Which of these blocks do you prefer? Okay, so for me, which one do I prefer? I prefer the hollow blocks because of all these advantages and disadvantages I have just mentioned. I prefer hollow blocks, right? But for the foundation of my building, I will use solid blocks. And then the ground floor of my building, all the load bearing section of the ground floor of my building, I will use solid blocks. Then the top floor, I will use hollow blocks. Then if there is any other part of the top floor that I feel like I need to carry, to carry more weight, I will use 9 inches hollow blocks for those parts. Why I will use like 6 inches hollow block for the other parts that are not really carrying a lot of weight. Okay, so yeah, let me know in the comment section which of these blocks you prefer. Okay, and let me know in the comment section. I hope you guys found this video helpful. Okay, yeah, please like this video so that more people can see it and help me share. Okay, share with your friends, your family members, anyone you know that this video will be helpful to them. Please help me share with them. Okay, if you need a very good engineer to handle your building projects anywhere here in Nigeria, don't be sleeping on engineer Ewere. Don't sleep on engineer Ewere. Contact engineer Ewere, okay, so that he will build that solid house for you that no storm can shake. Okay, yeah. And if you want to buy good properties here in Delta State, when I mean good, genuine properties, okay, genuine properties that you buy and have peace of mind, contact a gentle nose. His phone numbers will always be on the screen, also in the description box. Okay, please leave me a comment. Let me know which of those blocks you prefer, and help me share this video with your friends, your family members, anyone at all you know will find this video helpful. Please help me share with them. Okay, if you have any question, put it down for me in the comment section. Guys, please always check my seller shop out, okay, because I always update that shop. I always put in new things there. So go to the seller shop, just be shopping, look for anything concerning your building projects that will be helpful for you. Just you can shop there. Okay, things I don't post on here, they are over there on my seller shop. So go there and shop for anything concerning your building project. Okay, so yeah, I love you guys so much, and don't forget that Oluwa got you. Always pray when it comes to anything concerning this your building, even down to the type of block you use. Tell God to direct you, so that you know which type of block to use at certain stage of the building. Okay, oh God in heaven, I commit my brother, my sister over there on the other side of the screen. I pray you have mercy upon them, have mercy upon me too, in the name of Jesus Christ. I am praying, oh God, that you help them in their decision making when it comes to their building, even when it comes to the block, anything concerning their building. Please help them to always make the right decision in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. I love you guys so much, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye. Peace out.